So guys, I know this is going to be officially the last look at the Japanese meta we're going to have, because officially after this Friday, it starts, actually probably the second to last. I'll do one more next week, and then basically we are equally competitive across the board. Everyone should have product, everyone should be playing the new stuff, so we'll be just looking at the meta at this point. And it'll be, I'm going to change it up a little bit to kind of just do a little bit more data pull in so that we kind of all have this information, especially because we're going to be able to pull from JP, English, all these amazing stats that we can finally have a good understanding of where decks are kind of just falling. Yes, there's also going to be those 5 locals. There's going to be locals that are just there. So guys, hopefully you are ready for this coming. Let's take a look at the second to last look at JP's meta, shall we? I know this series has been a growing popular one for a little bit since we were getting closer and closer to our own unification. So with that, it was good to finally see where things are kind of landing. You know, we kind of get an understanding that sometimes these locals are only 5 players. So I try to use a good information on like a blanket, as long as it had a good amount of showing, like 20 players. Like Gamer Tavern is one of the best to grab, you know, list rums, because they at least fire always with 20 players at any given time. And that is great to know, because when it comes down to it, a lot of players will just pop in and they don't even tell how many players there was. At least with 19, boom, you're already knowing that the turnout is good enough to be competitive. You know, you're going to have strong players across the board, and at the end of the day, you get this information. So taking a look, we have like red, purple Imperial Dramon, Royal Knights, Fenrir Luga, purple Hybrid, blue-green Imperial Dramon, Dukemon, blue armor, this is Jesmon. God, I hate that it's Jesmon. Plant Fairy, Sakuya, Examon, Sun and Moon, Crossheart, you know, and it goes on and on. There's nothing too crazy out of the ordinary. Genkumon, really? Purple Hybrid Body, Terrier, Ultimate Body, Mirage, Insect, Gamma. I think we already looked at Gamma though. Terrier, Pyramidy, Snow and Ice and Snow, which we can take a look here. Just taking a look at Ice and Snow. And again, Gamer Tavern. They always have large turnouts. I mean, 9 was their smallest occasionally, but you know, Iceclad is a strong deck in generalization. Just being able to source strip up to like 5 to 6 cards is huge. So understanding that in general, you know, taking this into account, like even looking at this deck got 3rd place. And again, Zephaga is a strong deck, and I feel like we're going to get to the point when Zephaga actually becomes super competitive. And what do I mean by that? I think we're going to reach that point sooner than later. And again, it's a good thing, because a main pro tags deck is always super important. And I think with Zephagamon getting Zephaga Ace, Zephaga from EX8, and then having the starter deck Zephaga, you have a great turnaround. And again, if you don't have the, you know, Medieval Gallant, that's fine. We're looking at a list right now that doesn't play it. You know, this deck became super budget friendly not too long ago. And again, I feel like when you have this kind of entry point where it finally became competitive, you know, Zephaga Aces are going down. They're going to be $8 a pop. The EX8 one is under $8. You know, these 2 great powerful cards make it super budget friendly, and I like when games kind of get to that point, right? So just understanding that we have a strong contender that is evolving almost every set that it gets support, and it's went from, you know, bottom tier like junky to actually being a confident tier 2 list in just short amount of what, 3 card support plus promo. I mean, that is crazy to me. And I think that is something we always have to take a look at when we are looking at decks and stuff. Like even with like old school Jesmon is still able to do some crazy shenanigans. Even though we take things for granted, sometimes decks evolving is what you need, right? I think at the end of the day, having Jesmon appear back into the format when it has faded off, I don't know, is it going to be the deck that we're expected long-term to see? Probably not. It'll probably die down once we have more competent meta, but with a restriction list coming in, maybe Jesmon is able to pull ahead. But we got to see where decks are kind of just falling off, right? Now, if you take a look, we have like Takemikazuchi as well. I think Takemikazuchi got really powerful with its new wave of support, you know, new tamer plus the fact that you have access to Kazujimon all lead into a very powerful deck and a new, you know, rookie that was just not expected to kind of just be there, but ended up being one of the more vital pieces. And at the end of the day, it led into a very, very new style of same style of play, just a new consistent way of playing the deck. I think, you know, we are in a good spot, but at the same time, I do expect something to go with this deck. If they're going to want to push their ace version, something has to give in this list, or else this deck is going to dominate for a longer time. Now, taking a look at red, purple, and Digimon, I did pick up Robin, Unker's Robins. You know, he does really well in events, and he kind of fine-tunes decks very well. So if you needed somebody to kind of just get a good thought process on how to build, you know, he does a great job at making these lists. So stuff like this comes up from time to time where he kind of comes up with what would be better. You know, he ends up playing the Takemikazuchi in the list and the starter deck Matt, leveling out the field to allow you to have an extra security check. And then, you know, the starter deck Matt, just whenever you discard a card, you can gain a memory. So that is super clutch in deck building sometimes. And again, he does also write out blogs to kind of just explain what his matchups are, how he feels with the deck, what changes he would make, why are these cards important. So definitely even just donating $1 to his blog ends up giving you such a good utilized resource that a lot of players don't even take advantage of now. You know, sometimes that's all you need, and I really do like where, you know, you kind of get this information. And again, this is just to show you what decks are kind of just happening right now in that are going to top and probably do well into Nats, well, Worlds. I think we also need to take a look at Adventures. Adventures has been kind of popping off. They've been growing little by little. Players are starting to adapt and build the deck how they want. And I think at the end of the day, I wouldn't be surprised if this becomes Ben's new deck. To be honest with you, I'm waiting for Ben to make the announcement that, yeah, I built Alphamon Oryukin, because this just screams what he would play. Like, at the end of the day, it feels like his deck. It always has been. I feel like black, if you're trying to play black, you listen to Ben, and I'm banking on him being on this deck sooner than later. But we'll have to see. Sometimes he does go to other deck styles that he likes, but I definitely see Adventure kind of being the deck he goes to. Now, again, Royal Knights are starting to top as well. You know, new DigiCup, this one at least placed top 8. Just taking a look here, we do have Royal Knights being Royal Knights. You know, it's starting to get faster and faster, and the problem comes down to is that this deck went from, you know, it went from being slow to now one of the fastest way to play Megazoo. And that's because they keep introducing more and more aces. You know, you have Examon Ace, which is a 9 cost. That means basically Yggdrasil is most likely playing this for cheaper by turn 2 or by turn 3, and they're most likely coming in for free with strong on-play skills. So that's important to take into account, especially like Alphamon Oryukin mode Ace. You know, this card literally is a Royal Knights, but it has an on-play that's going to kill most threats. Then you have like Jesmon GX, another great target, which is a level 7, by the way, with a play cost 9. Let me double check this. You can't play Omnimon or Gankubon with this effect. Wow, you can play Jesmon GX with this effect. Crazy. But you know, being able to trash as this bottom's Digievolution cards, delete one of your opponent's Digimon with as much or less DP as this Digimon. Again, Jesmon GX Ace has a lot of potential. You know, they also, with Jesmon being able to be an on play, you know, produce the token with reboot, blocker, decoy, red, black is super clutch sometimes. And again, I think we're seeing an adaptation, blah, 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 an adapting deck that is going to get better over time. And they are playing Medieval Gallant in the list just because it's another great card. I think we're going to see long-term wise, this deck's going to be in the format for a very long time. Now, again, Gallamon's another deck that we're probably going to see a lot in Worlds this coming weekend. Well, in a couple weeks. And it'll be great information. Because, again, Gammamon is a very strong deck. There's not many decks that contend with what Gammamon's trying to do. And I like where they went with it. You know, Gammamon, Crimson Mode Ace, you know, Gammamon X Antibodies. Giving a proper protection with Gammamon X Antibodies is always great to me. I think we have a lot going on for the list, and a lot of players are going to adapt and evolve how they want to play it. But at the end of the day, I'm surprised this doesn't go down to 1 and they're not playing, you know, Gammamon, you know, Omnimon X Antibody in the list. But again, we're going to see where the decks kind of just fall. And I really do want to see where everything is going. Now, again, we are just going to take a look at Purple Hybrid. Purple Hybrid is still going to do things in the meta until a restriction list kind of just nerfs it a bit, right? You know, maybe hitting this Mad Ishida will be the way, and it'll slow the deck down in what would be perfection to maybe get it out of the meta just a little bit. But I don't think that's going to happen. You're going to have to hit like Jack Raid's Mad Ishidas and stuff like that, probably to slow this deck down enough, because as long as they can keep just looping the Duskmon and Volgra, you're going to see the deck just keep popping off left and right. So at the end of the day, we have a lot going for it, and that's nothing wrong with that. But eventually the deck has to phase out, or else this deck is going to just stay dominant for a while. Now, again, here's Ghost Necromon. I know players have been waiting for like a competency list on Necro, and I think this is pretty interesting. Using the Minerva and the Merva to kind of just take advantage of some of your abilities, especially because you do have some decent ghosties. You know, this Soulmon can at least give something retaliation, which means that the Mervamon can give something. The thing that gets, you know, retaliation can swing that same term, which again can lead to being some crazy shenanigans. I do like that Lilithmon's in the option pool, because again, you know, this can bring Legion down a bit, which we want to do, because let's be honest, the cost of this thing is expensive. And with this added bonus, we can at least do some shenanigans. You know, Necromon being execute security attack 1, it's just another way of playing the deck, right? I think at the end of the day, we're going to see a lot of players trying to make this deck work. And I think this might be a good stepping stone for a lot of players that have been wanting to get Necromon off the ground. I think this top end is pretty solid, actually, to combo in with Necromon. What do you guys think on that one? Now, again, we do have Excel being, interestingly enough, starting to pop up more and more. And that's nothing wrong with that. Excel has a lot going for it. And at the end of the day, we're going to see more and more of that. And I think with the abilities that this deck has, you have a great toolbox to kind of work with. And I love that they're using Analog Youth, because when you self-destruct with your option, you know, Singularity Chaos, you're gonna gain some value out of that, right? You know, now it can possibly pass you back the turn, you know, well, it's already going at the end of your opponent's turn, which could give you more memory. So depending on situation, you're going to have some great value, right? I think at the end of the day, the deck has a lot going for it that'll lead it to being actually one of the more confident, strong decks. But all in all, guys, though, it looks like we have a lot of potential coming into this format, and I'm excited to see where we're going to go once we get to BT21. And again, restriction list is going to affect everything. So, guys, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll catch you next one. Peace.